Welcome to the Free Range Families Podcast, where we, Britt
and Christina, show you the beauty of homeschooling through a lens of faith
and freedom,
and always a bit of humor. Welcome back to Season 2 of the Free Range Families Podcast. We are in studio, but we have a new background to enjoy with our forefather signing a very important document, which...
What document would that be?
I don't know. Something that's like...
Hancock on?
Yeah, put your John Hancock on there.
Yes, it is perfect. It lined up awesome considering the fact that we are after election season.
Mm-hmm.
And
we have a lot of stuff to talk about this season.
Cece's not here. Oh, we don't need Cece for this episode.
This episode we don't, but
okay.
Yeah. So season 2, we had a great season 1.
Yes.
I mean, the feedback was just awesome, and I'm so proud of what we did. I really am.
It really was awesome.
So season 2, we're going to get into a lot more.
Well, we have to have
stuff.
Cece here because homeschooling is controversial, and there are so many things that people say and do, and we are in a different time period entirely. And
honestly,
want you to join our revolution.
But things are changing like more rapidly than we could have ever imagined. And especially now after, post-election, like there's a lot going on that we are going to just try to keep you guys updated on and see what that means for the future of homeschooling and how that could hopefully very positively impact our world.
I think we're entering a new realm of incredible awesomeness in education. Is that a word? Awesomeness in education.
Awesomeness in education. And I really feel like that ties us into our opening episode. So we really wanted to open this season, first off, because we are...
Gobble, gobble.
And I've got my American flag sweater. But we're opening this. Obviously, our first episode is coming out right before Thanksgiving. And we have so much to be thankful for. So that's kind of what we're doing with this episode.
Make me cry, Christina. So much to be thankful for. Yes.
So this is our There's Always Something to Be Thankful For episode.
And there is. Even if you think there's not and you're having a terrible day.
We all have them.
Thinking.
We all have them. Yes. But if we can really look... really like, and I tell my kids this all the time, like when you're feeling like nothing is going your way, stop and really reflect, because you will start to see, wow, I have a million things to be thankful for. And sometimes that little mind shift change is, it's all you need.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So diving in, we really want to talk about how you can teach your kiddos how to be thankful and find gratitude during this holiday season. And it's an abstract concept, teaching gratitude. It's not just saying, make sure you say thank you, make sure you say please, that kind of thing. It goes deeper than that, and we have to have some tangible things that we can utilize within our homeschooling atmosphere on a regular basis, but especially during this time period.
Because I think gratitude is, it's an abstract concept for... it really is, because what is gratitude to you? What is gratitude to me? How do we look at it? How do we approach those things?
It's also like based on experiences too. So, if you have a little bit more suffrage in your background, tend to be more grateful for things. So, you have to think about that too. It differs from family to family, but teaching little ones what it means to be grateful is something that is sometimes difficult.
It can be extremely difficult, especially because as parents, like our job and what we want to do is we want to give our kids a better life than we had. So we're always trying to make things easier for them and better for them. And yet sometimes that can backfire when you make things too easy for them, because they don't have those opportunities to naturally be in an environment where they have to be grateful for something, because they're just given stuff. So it's a fine line. And like parenting is not easy. Let's be real.
It is not. And there's no handbook, but we're here to try to make things make more sense and make it a little bit more fun and interesting during this thankful holiday season. So, okay. So diving in, we want to talk about our number one. It's not the number one reason, but it's our starting point on how to teach thankfulness or gratitude to your children, and that is manners.
Manners matter.
Dun, dun, dun.
Manners matter. And if you ask the neighborhood children back in New Jersey where we used to live, they would all come into my house. That like a gaggle of children. We loved them. They would just roam around to different houses, but they would come into my house, immediately kick off their shoes because they knew we didn't allow shoes in the house, and they would yell out, "Manners matter," because they heard it so many times. And it was kind of a joke, but yet these kids learned manners matter in my home.
Well, and the other thing is the concept of teaching manners rather than catching manners. So that's kind of a big thing with us. So we want to refer to our friends and older friends and moms and dads as like Miss Christina or Miss Amber or Miss this. And even Mrs. with your last name, unless they say, please don't call me that, that kind of thing. But those things I've never really taught my children, like, hey, I just refer to you as Miss Christina when I'm talking to, yes. So it's model behavior. So they're catching those behaviors. And in that, and manners differ from family to family. So, correct. But like at my family, when we are done with dinner, they have to ask to be excused. And it's just something that I think was proper, but that might not be something you want to adopt into your family. But simple things like being polite, listening when somebody's talking, those kind of things, they're all a step in the right direction of teaching thankfulness and gratitude. Yes. You have anything to add to that?
No, I just think it's really important that not only do we model manners, because we do live in what should be a polite society. Not always, but it should be. I mean, I think we'd all do a lot better in our society if we had a more polite society. Yes. And it's those little manners show that you respect others, and that you by showing others respect, you're actually giving them opportunity to respect you back. Yep. And it's not like a lot of people are like, well, I demand respect. Well, what are you doing to earn that respect? Yeah. So
I think that's where the modeling behavior is huge. So if you're going to demand that your kids are being a certain way, then you have to be able to model that at home, right. And in public. So that's the biggest thing, is a lot of times we want to be the homeschoolers that are out in public where people are like, hey, how come all of your children are so well behaved? Right. Not, hey, how come you have to leave the restaurant because your children are being crazy right now?
Yeah. They're walking on walls. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, we want to model the behavior and smash that stigma that homeschoolers are these like crazy feral beings, that they are. Yes, we love the outdoors. Yes, we love to be wild and free. But at the same time, we teach our kids how.
When.
Yes, there
when
are appropriate
is appropriate.
times.
Yes, yeah. And how to behave in polite society.
Book I should have brought in. It has fish on it, and it's like, know when to talk, when to listen, know when to be crazy. I'm going to have to bring this in for an episode, or link it in here.
Those are skills that are going to help them in every situation they're ever going to be in. Work situations, life situations, friend situations, relationship situations. I mean, these are important things.
So ask your kids. I think this is where, besides teaching them manners, table manners, that kind of thing, but ask them, how can they be helpful? So like teach them after they're done doing something, or even when there's a lull in the day, come to us and say, hey, how can I help? Is there anything I can do? Because that will start instilling this sense of gratitude and thankfulness.
And it also helps them become more aware. Yes. A lot of times gratitude and manners really, they come into play, and they become more prevalent in our kids when they start to be more aware of their surroundings. Yes. And it's natural that kids have a little bit of blinders on. That's just normal. Their brains have not developed to be able to really see all the little things that are happening, and you have to teach it. Yeah. So I love that question of saying, okay, how can I be helpful? Yeah. And then by the time they're teenagers, you're hoping that we're now at a point where it's not, how can I be helpful? It's, I see that there's dishes in the sink. Let me just go ahead and take care of those. Oh, I see that, my mom is working right now and, didn't have a chance to, get anything started for dinner. Let me go and say, do you want me to start cutting up the vegetables? Yes. Like they start to now recognize where they can be helpful. And that's such a different level now.
Just this morning, my middle child sent me a picture. It's always crazy on days where we're recording, but it's a work day. And she sent me a picture that she made her older brother and her baby brother breakfast. And she's like, Mom, I got this taken care of. And she had everything, bacon and pancakes, set aside. But that's something that we have modeled in our family. Like, hey, if you're going to make yourself something to eat, make it for everybody.
Make it for everyone. Or ask them, hey, would you like some as well? I'm already doing this. Yes.
Yep. And so that actually teaches kids not to take things for granted. And I think that that's how we're applying this to being thankful, is it teaches them not to take things for granted, which you normally would.
And that leads into one of my favorite things is chores.
Yes.
So we're a chore household, as are you.
Yep.
We are also a chore household that does not we don't do allowances for chores.
I do allowances for chores. So this is why this is such a great, we just do a flat $10 a week. Like if you uphold your chores that you're responsible for, then you get that $10 a week rolled into your Greenlight account. Anything past that, if they do like yard work, I will actually pay them like I would pay a person to come do yard work in the house. But
and that's how we do. We are not an allowance family. We give them opportunities to earn money for doing above and beyond what their regular chores are. Chores are just part of their daily checklists. Like as we talked about in season 1, we do checklists for the day. And they actually, the reason they earn check marks per day is that's their video game time. We are very limited on video game time. We only do video games on the weekends during when we're schooling. Yes. And then they have to earn, each check mark is 10 minutes of video game time. So if you've only earned 40 minutes of video game time for the week because you didn't, and they have an opportunity to earn 40 minutes per day. Yep. So if they didn't do it, like, oh, well, there have been times where, one of our kids have sat down and said, I want to play video games with my friends. And I'm like, great. How much time do you have? 20 minutes? I'm like, well, then you get 20 minutes.
It's funny that you say video games as like the reward because my children use their $10 a week allowance. My daughter saves up sometimes. I should say that with sometimes. But most of the time she's the one that saves. The boys, they'll be like, oh, yeah, no, we're buying something for our video games. That is where the chore money goes. But
it's... I love seeing the different ways that people do things. But so for us, the chores are just built into their day.
Well, they're built into intrinsic motivation. Yes. So I want to say that everything is rewarded with something tangible, but that is what kids seek. And what we've been accustomed to is like, hey, if I do this, what am I going to get for it? Rather than if I do this, I'm just doing it because it's the right thing to do, or I'm doing it to be good. So that's intrinsic motivation. That's why I think it's important not to have, if you're going to do an allowance, have a minimal allowance that you're giving your children, and then pay them for extra work or pay them in some other way for extra things. And that just
gives them an opportunity to see that work ethic pays off.
Yes.
And you can actually earn money by
and then hard. Now Ryan's my oldest is working with my husband once or twice a week. He's actually making money, and he's like
whoa,
wait, what
this
is
great
happening? I am out in the
I have money to spare.
So our number one would be make sure that you're instilling thankfulness and gratitude through manners and chores,
age appropriate chores, and hopefully getting them to a point where they start to see, hey, I am being helpful to the family. Like we tell our kids, we are a family unit. And as a family unit, we're all in this together. This is not like, especially as they're teenagers now, this is not mom and dad do things and you ride our coattails. We're a family unit. We help each other out. We take it as a team. Exactly. Yes. And sometimes, that doesn't mean everybody does equal shares. There will be times where, for example, yesterday, I had a migraine. Yeah. I felt miserable all day.
Birthday.
I'm an old lady now. 46, baby. 46.
Amazing.
But I didn't feel good. And so, granted, it was my birthday too, but I literally didn't do anything. My kids and my husband basically took care of all the things that needed to be done. My kids stepped up and helped out with dinner and all these things because they knew I wasn't feeling good.
But it's teaching them to care about something more than themselves. That's why I think that's the first starting point in teaching, is because they learn to care about something more besides the self. And we live in a very selfish society where everything is immediate and fast and
what can this do for me?
Yes. And so but it actually does something for you by doing something for others. And they will learn that, and it builds self-confidence and just so much there. The second, though, this is where we get our nerd on. And I love this because in school, they don't always teach the Thanksgiving story, the way that it maybe homeschoolers should teach it. But living texts and book recommendations. So we brought some things in. Teach history. Yeah. Teach the Thanksgiving story and really hone in on the aspects of sacrifice that our forefathers made to come over here. And that will start instilling those steps of gratitude. So when I teach this. We always do, and they need better videos because I was searching on YouTube. We were just doing this this week, actually. But they need better videos on Forefathers Day because it's on December 22nd, and there's hardly any. And if there are any, they're short. Like, I want to go to Plymouth and be like, hey,
let's do something.
Can we make a movie out of this or something and just really teach it? But they actually... There are people that still go out every single December 22nd, shoot off the cannons 3 times, and it's huge. I know it's December 22nd, but that was actually Forefathers Day, and we celebrate it in a different time. So those things are important. I did not learn that in public school.
No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
No. So, you learn the Pocahontas thing and all this other stuff, and it is just wildly different than if you were to learn from living text. So you brought in Rush Limbaugh's books.
So these were just great. Like, they're really well written for younger kids, like elementary, early middle school age kids. They're super entertaining, and they tell the story. Like, there's the one that talks about the brave pilgrims is really great because this one tells the story of Thanksgiving, kind of goes into it. And I loved them because it's a different way of teaching history. In school, history is so dry.
Yes.
It's so memorize these dates, memorize these names, but there's no connection. There's no connection to present day. There's no connection to our like where we come from.
No, even down to what you eat at the things. This is the wild thing. I don't remember ever learning in public school that turkey wasn't served or they didn't have certain foods at the table at the original Thanksgiving because we just historically didn't put ourselves in that situation. So that's what you can do with your kids is, hey, let's look at the environment that these people were in when they came over here. Did they have access to this? No, they ate deer and, goose, seal. I'm pretty sure there was seal involved there, right? We're on the coast. I think so.
Probably.
And so the food, even at their table, was wildly different than what we eat
now.
Yeah, get me on some sweet potatoes.
But I think part of that is that history teaches us to be grateful because you can't know what you have and where you're going unless you know where you came from.
Yes.
And that's where, like, I also think that teaching our personal history is important. What is your familial history? Yep. Where do you come from as a family? How did that impact who you are today? Like, nobody would look at me and think that I'm a first generation American.
No.
No one.
Yeah.
But I am the first generation in my family to be born in the United States. My family members, my parents were not born here. They came over during, like, immediately after World War II.
So that's a great opportunity then to talk to your children if you are in about immigration and how to be a citizen of the United States of America and what you wanted that was different. Why did my
grandparents?
There's a reason why I'm not first generation, but second generation left from Finland, was part of Russia until like 1915. Why did they leave? You know? And so ask those questions because that will bring perspective into, literally forefathers coming over. It's very similar in a lot of ways.
It is.
In a different time period.
And if we want our children to be more grateful for the fact that, I'll fight anybody who says differently, we live in one of the best darn countries in the foundation of it.
Yes,
what we're supposed to be.
Right now, I've got a weight lifted off. So
yes. But the principles of America and the foundation of how America was founded and what we were supposed to be.
Yes.
There's no other country like it. And if you ask the people who have come here legally and have said, why did I leave my home country? I went there.
Are laughing. I love it that we should have had CC. I know this is a thing.
Yeah, I know. We went there.
Okay.
Because I am thankful for it. And you know what? I grew up with the stories of what my grandparents went through to come here, the sacrifices that they made, the things that the horrors my grandparents went through. I could tell you stories that would turn your stomach. And yet they came here to give us that better life.
And because of the suffrage, they have more gratitude. And so that's what we're trying to say.
And that's what we need to instill in our kids. And through history and the ability
teaching your roots, you can tell your children that, like, hey, listen, grandma and grandpa, this is what they went through. And it does give them a perspective of graciousness and thankfulness because of their suffrage.
And that's why I think with homeschooling, we have such an advantage because we can take the time when we are teaching history to delve deep into this. And you never have this opportunity in government schools because there's just no time. They're teaching to test. They're teaching. You might do like a little, I remember.
I'm going to teach you when was the Constitution signed, and I doubt there's a huge populace of kids that can't even answer that question anymore. But when is it signed? Maybe I remember having to memorize the preamble to Constitution. Yes. I don't know, but that was like AP English. I don't know if they even do that anymore. Hardly, probably, because it's probably a waste of time. Why? We're trying to now not so much, but in the past the rhetoric was, why do we need this Constitution thing? Like, let's just throw it out and get rid of it. And I'm hoping that now with new leadership, the pendulum is it's swinging back so that we actually focus on the fact that there is a reason God is interwoven into our Declaration of Independence, that we are founded on this wonderful, document, and that we need to keep it.
And those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it.
Yes.
And that is so incredibly important because
scary.
You've seen it start happening. We won't get into that right now.
No,
but
I'm down to get into it. Anyways, you need to teach your personal history, your roots, and also teach through it. There's so many wonderful living texts. I think The Good and the Beautiful, I just started reading another book from them, but they have a Constitution course that I really like, and I'm blanking on the name of the book, but my kids adore it. It goes with their Constitution curriculum. And when I'm saying it's colorful, it's a story written about certain real things. Mm-hmm. So it brings in perspective to the kids, not just saying, hey, this happened, or even for our older kids, looking up Thomas Paine's Common Sense, listening to it,
reading the Federalist Papers. We're doing that. And diving deep into why was this written and what was the life of these people who were writing it. Where did this come from? This just didn't come out of the blue. No. There was a reason for everything that they said. And how does it apply to today?
My minor's in Native American literature, so we do have a little bit of Native American in us. So this is like one of my favorite time periods because it just coincides so wonderfully with the fact that there were people here before we came over. So that it's such a good conversation to have, especially with older children, about how this all came to par. Why were people fighting? Why did some people get along and some people didn't? And that will really give a lot of good. You have a lot of substance to kind of dissect with your family.
And I think that's important to have those hard discussions. Don't shy away from them.
No.
Like, ask your kids, even young kids, what sacrifices have been made for you?
Yep.
Can you start to recognize them? Because we expect kids to almost innately understand sacrifice, but they can't. It's not tangible. Kids' brains aren't developed yet to understand those, nuances. Especially. So we have to actually almost put it in front of their faces and say, here's the sacrifice that was made for you. Do you understand it? Let's talk about it.
Yes. Especially if you have a child that maybe is on the spectrum, and we're both that struggles a lot of times. Children that are on the spectrum, have a struggle with empathy. So this is actually something my children have all developed a sense of empathy, but it was something that I actually had to teach or have them catch because they are all on that they have empathy towards animals. My daughter has empathy towards people, but it's different. So that's one of the reasons we had our oldest go to work with my husband, so he could see how hard does daddy work, waking up at 4:00 every morning and doing construction, and how hard is this to provide for your family. And he does it without complaining, and he does it coming home. And that's why he needs a nap in the afternoon, those kind of things. And so if you can kind of, whatever your family story is, just unpack this and move it into your personal history or teaching actual history of Thanksgiving, and then back to your roots with your family, that would be a good starting point for teaching gratitude.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So then going into the next one, what do you think? This is like my favorite. I love it because it involves glitter.
Not in my house. It doesn't. Tell you that. No way. But because these concepts are so intangible, we need to make them tangible. Yes. We need to start, especially at the younger ages, but continuing through even the teen years. We have to turn the concepts of manners and gratitude and sacrifice into a tangible teaching moment.
Yes.
So
starting at like the babies into the bigs, we want to give you some ideas that you can kind of film it into your homeschool curriculum of how to teach gratitude in a tangible way. Okay. So I think I'm just going to pull in the one that we do. I love the thankful jar because we used to do that too. But we put a giving tree up. Like my kids know as soon as November hits, go find some construction paper. The giving tree is going up. But my house also looks like, I mean, there's stuff everywhere, right? So you have to be okay with that if it's not your family space. So we put a big giving tree on our front door. It's in the inside. And my oldest this year made the trunk and all the branches. And then he actually like made it 3-dimensional, so you can go as crazy as you want.
So art project,
yes,
incorporating art, multisensory.
He used like Mod Podge and he made it like this big wood thing. And then every day, we do it daily. So every day we do school and right, it's like 4 days a week. The kids trace one of their hands. I don't know if you can see it, but you trace your hand on a piece of paper, construction paper, and we use fall colors. And then they write, I am thankful for in the middle with their name. So we know who it belongs to. And then every finger, they have something they're thankful for. So like my little one did his yesterday and it was our homeschooling group, God, my friends, my dogs, but it teaches them
to recognize the little,
to be like, hey, what would life be like if I didn't have this? So when they're really little and they're like, I don't understand what this means. That's how I teach it is imagine your life without something. And it can be something, then they'll start putting things that aren't actually, physical things, like, right. And they'll start being like, God or love, feelings, those kind of things. What would life be like without that? And then they take their handprint and they put it up on the tree. And by the end, when we were approaching Thanksgiving, they got a full bushy tree and you can see everybody's, it's one of my favorite traditions that we do.
That's awesome.
So that is a good way. And teens can get involved in that too.
Teens can get involved in that. Yeah. And a thankful jar, you can start off, and again, at young, they're going to put one thing in a day that they're thankful for, and then we would read it at Thanksgiving. Yes. Like, go around the table. What are people thankful for? Yeah. Do that. But then as they become teenagers, they can then turn that into that more, that deeper idea of thankfulness. And you can really kind of delve into that and start to have some pretty intense conversations about that. We've also done, we have thankful cards. I know it's silly, but I found them online and we bought them and at family dinner. We do family dinners every night. Yep. And we've gone through them where at family dinner, everybody grabs a card and reads the card and it has like some type of question that forces you to think a little bit about what are you thankful for, what do you appreciate in life, and you have to go around and talk.
Yes, the end result is we're trying to extract. That's how I look at this. This is a project of helping your kids understand gratitude, but we're trying to extract those things from their little brains and their hearts, but we have to kind of give them a starting point.
Yeah, so we can't expect them to just know these things. We have to guide them through it.
I love the thankful jar. I think we should integrate the thankful jar or something to our Friendsgiving coming up.
So that's another way of doing that, creating like a Friendsgiving. So our whole homeschool group this weekend is about to embark on we're just going and taking over Brittany's homestead, but we're going to have a big Friendsgiving event where everybody is bringing something to the table. We're going to be doing a Jessie Tree ornament exchange. Yes. We're going to the student council is doing a food drive and giving out popcorn and all these just little things to show it. They also created a random acts of kindness bingo for the kids to do so that there's sometimes it helps to have that tangible, I'm going to go through.
Great. And this is also good for the people that are like, well, you know what? We don't have a homeschool group, or we do have a homeschool group. If you do have a homeschool group, suggest it to your homeschool group because it's a wonderful thing to see all of these families, whoever can attend. I think we don't even have everybody attending on Friendsgiving, and there's like 90 people. Woo. So I know it's crazy.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. However, that also goes back to smashing the stigma of socialization. Mm-hmm. Oh, come on, people. We have 90 homeschoolers that are all with their parents that are going to be sitting at one giant table enjoying s'mores and worship music. Yeah. How much cooler can that be? So it does exist. But if you don't have a homeschool group and, you're looking for something like that, you could think of starting your own or putting it out there to be like, hey, you know what? homeschoolers, let's get together for Friendsgiving, because it does show community.
Even if it's, let's get together at the park on a, on a Friday afternoon, and everybody bring a little something to share.
Yes. And write down on the sidewalk things you're thankful for, and chalk, because that spreads. It's like that pay it forward thing. It spreads it. It radiates out.
Teens can do a lot more. Obviously we do things to connect. And I think that's where thankfulness comes into. It's a connection that you're making to each other. Yeah. And like, we're thankful, and gratitude is really connecting you with the things that are around you and seeing them.
Yeah.
So, little things in our daily lives, like game nights, family game nights, cooking together, cleaning together to a favorite song list. Like, we pop on music and it's like, all right, everybody help clean up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who made the mess. We're all in it together. We're that family unit. We're that team, and we're going to get this done, but we're going to do it in a fun way. Everybody gets to pick the music differently, like great. A different night, or a kid date night. Like, all right, you're in charge of date night tonight, of the family date night. What are we doing?
Yeah. That's awesome, because it gives them the power to be like, oh, I am part of this family, and I can direct certain things and we have that benefit. I think the other reason we wanted to do this is we have the benefit as homeschoolers to really teach these things and bring it back into that family aspect. So teaching something tangible, all of these are great. Bingo, we've got teen jars, gratitude. I like to give. So then we can go to the giving to teach gratitude. Yes. We do something in our homeschool group, and others do it at Secret Sisters, Secret Brothers. And even if it's just a note, to your secret sister or secret brother, the idea that the kids are regularly thinking about somebody else, and they have to do it in a secretive kind of way, that like, I got flowers from my husband today. That's cool, right?
You should have said, like, we were all swooning. We're all like, she just got flowers on her car.
So then when you do that from a kid to another child who's like, oh my gosh, somebody just gave me a card with a bunch of stickers in it or something like that. Somebody's thinking about me. Giving to teach gratitude is essential.
It is, because what that starts to do is that starts to get them, that rewires their brain to say, I don't need, like, the act of gift giving is more important than the act of gift getting. Like, it's great to get, but to give and to see you spread that happiness to somebody else, that is going to take them so far in life.
Give more than you take.
Correct.
Yeah. And so I think that's good, but we have to model it. Yes. So that's why I was looking at our notes. We have to make sure we modeling that behavior consistently with our kids. So, how can, when they all were at your beck and call yesterday because you had a migraine and it was your birthday, they innately, because you've modeled the behavior, knew, hey, we need to take care of mom, that kind of thing. So these are all good. Also, giving as far as we're talking about food donations or collections, or, even around the holidays, like a cookie drop off.
Yes. Community service. Just cool. How can you help your neighbor? Yep. You have an elderly neighbor, go help them. Yep. Go offer your services to other people, just because giving doesn't have to be something tangible. It could be giving of your time. Yes. And then I think it's really easy it's easier for kids to see the big acts of gratitude. Yes. But it's those little things, the little things we do every day. Holding a door for someone, standing up if you're on public. I mean, we don't have a lot of public transportation here, but like, we're riding, the subways in New York City. Yeah. I would always teach my kids, if an elderly person or a mom with kids or a pregnant lady comes on, you stand up. And they'd be like, but why? I'm like, because. And I would explain to them, and they, oh, I understand that. So now my teenagers automatically will stand up and be like, no, please have this seat. Even if it's like somebody who doesn't necessarily need it, they just have that ingrained in them.
This is so important too, Christina, because I hate to dog the society we live in, and I hope that, but it's so fast paced and so selfish in so many ways that we are overlooking those little things, like getting up for an elderly person.
Chivalry is not dead.
No, it is
Whether
not.
It's, to our sons or our daughters, it has to, we need. And that goes back to that polite society idea. Like, we need a more polite society. Yes. We need to be more thoughtful of those around us and teaching them to do that.
And your kids are not just going to wake up one day and be a knight in shining armor if you're not, teaching these things, or they don't catch it from you, kind of thing.
But it's amazing to see how many people don't hold the door open. Or when you hold the door open, how few people say thank you.
Oh, yeah.
They just walk right through. And my kids will just be like, oh. well, you're welcome. Okay then.
That's awesome.
Like,
no, it's
okay.
so true.
But those little things matter. And it creates a chain reaction.
Yes.
Like those little pay it forward things, like it doesn't need to be like, oh, I paid for somebody's coffee. Like that's cool and all. But the little chain reaction of saying thank you, holding a door, complimenting somebody. Like I've walked down the street and just seen somebody with like an awesome pair of boots. I'm like, I love your boots. And do you see oh,
I know.
Thank you.
And then it's that whole pay it forward thing. It radiates out.
Yes.
So then they're going to
Joy radiates out.
That experience. And they're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to be nicer to this person today and nicer to this person, especially in the time period of today. That could go a long way. And so the other thing that you just touched on was not the big acts of gratitude, but this next one, I can work with the little ones at home, my little one at home, but for the older ones, having a prayer journal, so a reflective way to meditate through prayer or things that you're thankful for, and actually physically writing them down on a daily basis, going outside, sitting under a tree, spending some time away from the noise and really kind of looking introspectively of why am I thankful?
And again, giving them something like we have 1 minute prayers for young men, and it's just like a little daily explanation and then a quick little prayer that they can choose to say and then add on to and talk about, because things like this help guide them to get to the point where they can then do it on their own.
So that's it. A prayer journal, I think, is good with a prompt or something.
Yes.
So they have a starting point, because it's really, maybe for us, we can go out and say, hey, this is heavy on our hearts. This is heavy on our minds. And we want to make sure that we're always being thankful for the things and the blessings we have in our lives. But for the younger kids, or the teenagers, they need some sort of starting point. Right. So, a daily devotional or some sort of prayer journal for your kids is huge.
Absolutely.
All right. And then go for it.
Self-reflection is also important. And learning when gratitude does not happen, how do we react? How do we navigate when we don't feel appreciated? And how does that then impact what we do in return?
Because a lot of times when you don't feel, like people are appreciating, and I'm constantly having to remind that not everybody, my expectations are high of humans. Yeah. So I have high expectations of people. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but can also be a crux, because not everybody's going to act or reply exactly the way you would have expected them to do. But doesn't necessarily mean they're not thinking of you, or they're not grateful in that way.
Or that they have nefarious intentions, or that, they're not bad people. No. It's just, again, upbringing and experiences and just how they look at life is going to change that a little bit for everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's important to kind of reflect and do that. And then it comes to one of my favorite.
Yes.
This is like super important to me. Giving experiences rather than gifts. We are coming into gift giving season. Yes. The holidays are coming up, and this was really important for us to put into this episode, because we're coming into that materialistic season. Like, it's not supposed to be a materialistic season, but it has become so heavy on the tangible of like, what do I get? What do I give? And people focus so much on and consumerism.
No, they do. Whereas time, or even just being like, we're deciding not to give gifts, but come over to the house and sit down and have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or something, and let's like actually have some time to spend together. Right. That is more,
So we started, and this was, I have a friend who has 4 older children, and now she got remarried. So now she's up to like 7 children, and her kids,
article about this.
Yes. And so her kids are like, they're all like adults now. Yep. And they're starting their own families, but she has the absolute best relationship with her older children. And it started in the teen years. And I asked her, I was like, hey, just, as I'm starting to go into the teen years and you're going out, this is her relationship with her kids. Her kids just randomly show up to her house. Like last night she posted, her son and his girlfriend showed up to her house with stuff to make dinner, and we're like, hey, we're making you dinner and we're sleeping over. Like, oh my, and this is like a 22-year-old and his girlfriend. Like, hey mom,
we're in that time period where we see our oldest, they're getting bigger, and I know that they're gonna be like, I'm free.
Her kids invited her on a Bahamas vacation because one of their friends couldn't go. So the first person they called was, Mom, we've got an extra ticket. Can you come with us?
Yes.
Like, so her thing was, she said she stopped giving gifts when they turned teenagers, and she started giving experiences. So family vacation, Christmas was like, they would get a couple of little things to open up, like, oh, you needed socks and underwear, like, okay, like little things that, maybe a new book, but nothing big. Because
I think it naturally changes too, Christina. So that was one of the things I was thinking about, is this, when they're little, like you have magniformers and, all these things that they want, and dinosaur toys.
And it helps with their education and their motor skills.
Yeah. But when they get older, the gifts change. Like even for birthday this year, I was like, Ryan just wanted music. He wanted a drum set. So we had to like go exchange his old drum set for a new drum set. And that was it. Yeah. It was just something. And yes, it was a gift, but it's something he uses every day. It's just not a lot of like dollar store items or cheap things that, you're going to play with for 6 months and then they never play with again, kind of thing.
And a lot of gifts that people give, the video games, the phones, the computers, like, while they can have their purpose, they are literally gifts meant to disconnect us from each other. And so finding gifts that now are the entire focus is to connect us is important. Yes. So we started doing, for Christmas, we do family vacations. So after Christmas, we plan a family vacation. We, within the next couple of days, we'll do a little trip. And sometimes it's just like a 2 or 3 day trip. Sometimes it's a week-long trip, depending on what our schedules look like. But that's our Christmas gift, is we do something as a family. And then for birthdays, we started doing alternating parent trips. Yes. So like this was my year with Max. He turned 13. So he and I we went on a trip. Yeah. We went rafting. We went, exploring and hiking. Like we just spent 2 nights, 3 days together, just connecting.
I think people forget that even those little moments of just being, so like we were hunting the other day, and this is what I'm talking about, connecting. So much we are told to just buy something and then that'll keep them occupied. Yeah. That's a disconnect, is what you're talking about. But even just going on a walk with your kiddo, and my little one loves rocks, and being like, we're going on a treasure hunt. He will remember that. He will remember the rafting. They will remember those kind of connections over any kind of tangible gift that you give them.
My 15-year-old last week asked me to go for a walk. He's like, I'm going to take the dog for a walk. Would you please come with me? And don't tell anybody. He held my hand for the whole walk. And he and I walking down the street in our neighborhood, walking the dog, just talking to mom. And I was like, what 15-year-old does that? It's amazing that he still has that connection.
He appreciates.
Right.
He's got an appreciation
But we used to do that where we would always do like, okay, family walk. Let's all go together. Let's just go. Just get your shoes on. Let's do this. Yep. It's those little things of connection. And I think that if you start to look at gift giving as I'm giving my time.
Yes, and also the financial burden. I'm throwing this out there because the financial burden that comes around this time of year, okay, where families are budgeting. Hey, we're not going to do this because we have to have this much money for Christmas gifts, that kind of thing. If you changed the way you're thinking, and even if it is buying a gift, like the amount of money that you spent buying bicycles, okay, for the whole family, as opposed to tons of tiny little gifts that add up and whatever.
But those bicycles mean that your family is now connecting together, going on family bike rides. They're getting exercise. They're getting fresh air.
It's just
the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. Or like a family quad, or, things. You can give something, but just make sure it has purpose other than, hey, I'm going to play for.
Is the purpose connection or disconnection?
And also toys. I have a whole thing on toys. When my oldest was little, I was on the whole, like, let's buy every kind of tangible, tactile toy, sensory thing possible. While there is some good to that, the majority of the time can be spent playing outside. Like you can literally replicate anything that you buy in a store outside. Line up sticks, climb on trees, play with mud, kinetic sand. I've got sand right here. That kind of thing can be replicated outside, and it doesn't cost a dime. Yeah. And you're going to be, building that relationship with your kiddos.
We also used to rotate toys. We would have one bin of toys, and we would rotate them, because then they're like, oh, new toy. It's like, not really, but okay, it's new to you. Great. Yeah. But the other thing is, like, let's also bring back making gifts.
Yeah.
Let's also bring back doing things for somebody, making something for someone, and
love
appreciating that homemade gift, and thinking truly, what does this person appreciate and want and like versus, that's cool on the shelf. I guess I'll just get them that.
No, like we make prickly pear jam, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of things that we can make at home. But one of the reasons I make so much prickly pear syrup is because people like it, and I can give it as a gift, and it means that the whole family came together.
Exactly.
We make it and we give it. There's even like you make soap. You can make soap.
Yeah.
You can make all sorts of crafty things at home. So I think that's a huge one. Make sure and you can integrate that into your everyday homeschooling. We just made all our Jessie tree ornaments. That's another way of gift giving. I had the apple and the snake day 2, and
we have the cross. We're doing that today. Yep. When I get home, we're going to be doing our cross, and we've got a little hug surprise with our cross. You're going to love it. You're going to love the crosses. I'm very excited about them.
I'm excited.
But again, like this idea that you're thinking beyond what would the person like versus what is meaningful. And again, I'm just going to say it again. Is your gift connecting or disconnecting? Like if you use that as your basis, then you really are going to be teaching your kids gratitude, because you're modeling to them, I want that relationship with you, and it's relationships that bring us joy and gratitude.
Well, so here's the thing, Christina, and this is what I want people to think about. We have a benefit as homeschoolers to really hone in on our time, but is it easier to send your friends, family, a gift in Amazon gift card in the mail? Versus is it easier to say, hey, can you meet me for coffee or lunch or dinner or come over?
Yeah.
Which one's easier? Amazon is easier. Sending a gift card is easier.
But it's so impersonal.
There's nothing there. It's just bleh.
There you go.
Okay. You're not telling the person you know them. You're not even saying you want to spend time with them. So we really want you guys to think about this holiday season, is coming back to the family and thinking about who they are. Oh, and also this is where this comes in. We do give a gift to each person. We also go on a trip, so very similar. But we, instead of being like, oh my gosh, we have to buy something for every person in the family, we draw names. So this year I have my husband, which is kind of cool. I didn't have him last year, but we take names out of a hat, and then it actually forces my children to learn each other.
Right.
So I know they know a lot about each other in the household, but what do they really want? So I think last year my daughter is totally into boba, right? Everything is boba, mochi and boba. And my oldest was like, I'm not sure what to get Summer. Do I get her a bunch of, mani-pedi facial things if she likes all that girly stuff? And I was like, she really likes boba. He got an entire basket and filled it with boba slippers and a boba blanket and a boba gift card and like how to make your own boba tea at home. And her eyes were like, Big Brother got me this.
My brother loves me so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was so thoughtful, and he really took the time, and he made it a really cool gift, but it was just one. I know we're not going to get teary-eyed because it's hard.
It is.
But it is really a neat thing to teach your kids, in this harvest season, how to be grateful.
Right. And Brittany has an absolutely wonderful Substack article on this that we are going to link in the comments. And we've been talking about it on our Instagram too, but we're going to link that because I think it's a great read, and people really should just take the time to read her amazing writing, because she gets it all out. It's amazing.
I'm a better writer than I am talker. You're a better talker.
I'm a better talker.
But there actually is, there was that one article, and that one kind of outlines these tangible ways of having, from the thankful tree to the jar to the prayer journal, some things that you can integrate into your homeschooling curriculum during this harvest season. But the other one was based on the gift giving. Yeah, it was traversing teen gift giving.
We're going to add both of those because I think those are so important as we are going into the gift giving season, to really reset our minds of how we give gifts. I think that's really important.
Yep.
So
and
we're going to
end. Always good.
We're going to end with turkey.
I love turkey.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite. And I'm making ham.
I'm making ham and chicken.
But I love turkey. We even had a turkey off.
You had a turkey
deep
off?
Deep fried, smoked, or oven baked.
All right.
Which one won?
Deep fried.
Yeah, all day long. Deep fried turkey.
So good. All right. So we're going to end off with a quote. Do you want to read the quote?
Sure.
Okay.
As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. And that's JFK.
That is deep. It's true. We talked about this in one of our other episodes, that our kids are not going to remember what we say. They're going to remember what we do. Yeah. And so we need to model our behaviors and teach them through action.
Yes. And especially right now in the realm of after election season, I think it's important that we all are very appreciative of where we are. Yeah. And that if we want it to continue in a good and healthy way, especially for our children, we need to make sure that we don't forget to express our gratitude, and that we are actually an example to others. So,
and truly grateful for the lives we've been given.
Yes, because it's amazing. Mm-hmm. Yes. Alrighty. On that note, we have anything else to add to this?
No.
Other than throw some glitter in
no glitter.
The crafting equation. We made pumpkin slime with pumpkin scents and little pumpkin clay things and a whole bunch of glitter, and it was amazing.
I just like this chill down my back.
Give you for Christmas?
No, thank you.
A glitter bomb in the mail.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is over. That was the end.
Sorry. All right, signing off.
Happy
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, friends.
Join the revolution, guys. We are 5 million homeschoolers in the U.S. and growing, breaking down the walls of institutionalized learning.
And remember, if you like what you're hearing, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and most importantly, share with others and help us get the word out about the beauty and freedom of homeschooling.
And speak up. Go grab yourself some cool merch that we designed while you're at it.
See you next time.